So, I've given a few Sunday talks now over the last several years, but I don't think I've ever given a talk that was entirely inspired by a rock song. Yet here we are. Here we are, thanks to the Foo Fighters. I'm wearing my Foo Fighters t-shirt, and so did Linda.
Taylor Hawkins.
Yeah, bless.
Rest in peace.
Rest in peace. Yeah. So we're here thanks to the Foo Fighters, and there's something powerful about a lyric that can get under your skin. That it's not just a catchy thing, but there's a truth in a lyric. Sometimes there's just a truth in a word or in a few words strung together that sticks with us, that calls to us. It's something that keeps circling in our spirit, something that keeps circling in our mind, saying, pay attention. There's some wisdom here. And I feel like that's what happened for me with this song, End Over End. That kind of gritty, raw honesty that's in those lyrics. And there's also something incredibly spiritual in it. There is a spiritual message in those lyrics. It names a human experience that we all know really well, that life sometimes pitches us forward when we're not ready. It can flip us around. It can suddenly feel like everything is spinning out of control. The Foo Fighters sing in that song, I will begin again, but I can't start until I've seen the end. And I think that some of us, if not all of us, know that there's a truth in that we know that truth, that like in our bones, that something has to conclude before something new can begin. And right now, I'm pretty sure I'm going to bet that each one of us is living through some kind of ending. And I like the idea of living through an ending. Living through an ending like a relationship that's shifting, a role maybe that we've outgrown, a body that's changing. Maybe there's a dream that we've worked really hard for that's not unfolding the way that we planned. We all live in a world that seems to be spinning out of control. And as human beings, endings tend to scare us. I can say that that's true for me. Sometimes endings make me think that I've failed, or that I'm too late. Sometimes endings can make us think that we've lost. But there is a mystical truth in endings, that the ending isn't the end, that there is a spin that begins again, that we live in a constant state of flowing. We're not stuck, we're evolving. We're not broken, instead we're breaking open. We're not going backwards, we're spinning upwards. And that we're not alone, because everybody spins. Everybody gets caught in a spin. We're not living in chaos, we're living in transformation. Ernest Holmes teaches us that life is a mirror that will reflect back to the thinker what they think into it. We know, we can recall the teaching of the microcosm, the little world inside of me, and the macrocosm, the larger world outside of me, that what I think, our foundational belief is that what I think, what I believe is what reflects in my life. So sometimes we can get stuck looking at ending, looking at what's ending, And I like to say that that's that mouse view. That's that little view where we're just seeing what's right in front of our face. But if we can pull back and see the spiral, we can start to breathe again. When we move into that eagle view, we can start to relax into it, knowing that there isn't actually an end. It's transformation. So I've lived in that spin. I can't tell you how many times I've been in that spin. I can't name how many times I have metaphorically burnt my life to the ground to rebuild it again. And not necessarily consciously. Sometimes it just felt like that was the only way to make the change that I needed to make, to get to the next level, the next place that I wanted to be. And that's what they said. We need to end before we can begin again. So once upon a time, I had a job that felt like it was my calling until it wasn't. I had a relationship that I thought was full of love until it wasn't. Until it reached conclusion. And I had to move. I moved, and it felt like I was pulling up every single root that I had sunk into community that I thought would last forever. And there have been a lot of times in life where I felt like everything was falling apart. And now I see, and I have seen over time, that it wasn't falling apart, it was a holy turn. It was a spiritual shift. Spirit saying, this chapter is complete. Let's begin the next chapter. We never actually can return to where we were. We return to who we've become. That's the spiral.
Ooh, say that again.
We can never return to where we were. We can only return to who we've become. We are always in a state of evolution. We are always moving upward and forward and outward toward a greater and more expansive and more inclusive expression of life. Our lives are meant to grow and blossom and open, not to shrink down, not to pull in, not to live in the safety of smallness, but to be out and open and big and authentic. Foo Fighters, again, another lyric from Foo Fighters. Now that we're old and worn, a little ripped and torn, one day we'll be reborn. And I have felt that in the changes that have come in life. And I'm sure that we all have experienced that, where we just feel worn down and we're done. And there's nothing, I can't lift my head. I don't want to move forward. I can't rebuild my life one more time. I don't want to enter into a new relationship with anybody because the last one was so traumatizing and painful that I just can't go there again. We have all felt like that. But life isn't meant for us to live pristine and untouched. It's meant to wear us down, wear us into wisdom. Wisdom comes from being worn down and rising up again. That's where wisdom comes from. Science of Mind teaches us that wholeness does not mean unscarred. Wholeness means nothing essential is missing. Wholeness means nothing essential is missing. That every tear in the fabric of our story is where Spirit was able to slip in and remake us. Everything that appears to be a flaw is actually the window that Spirit uses to come in and raise us up. We don't throw the past away. I like the metaphor of spiritual compost. I love the metaphor of my life, my experiences, the things that I am shedding away, like those leaves on the trees. that fall to the ground and decompose and turn into nutrients that feed the roots of the tree. That's what's happening with life. That's what's happening with every experience that I have that no longer serves me. It's done. I've taken all the life out of it, learned all the things, and now I'm gonna let it drop. I'm gonna let it go, and I'm gonna let it compost into the nutrients that I need for my next expression.
Soul manure.
That's right. Soul manure.
Let's not practice alliteration.
We do not throw the past away. We compost it into wisdom. We compost the past into wisdom. In our tradition, we like to say that there is nothing to heal, only truth to be revealed. So rebirth doesn't erase the wound, it repurposes it.
Oh.
When life feels like it's ripped you a little, maybe that spirit's saying something truer is trying to come through. So I've got one more lyric from Foo Fighters song, and that really touched me. Wait, stop me so that I can begin. So stopping isn't quitting. It's a sacred pause. It's allowing spirit to rearrange us mid-spin. Ernest Holmes reminds us that the divine pattern is already perfect. It is our perception that needs to be healed. We don't begin again by forcing. We begin again by surrendering in the midst of the turn. So when life starts tossing you around, don't rush to your landing. Don't scramble to make sense of it too soon. We've got to trust the motion. Trust the remix. Trust that your life is being rescored in a higher key. Because we're not starting over, we're beginning again a little bit higher in the spiral. So my question for discussion, I was thinking maybe it was going to be what's your favorite song lyric and why. So let's go with that. I'm shutting off the camera.